What is generational momentum? Generational momentum is like a relay race. Previous generations pass on to the future generations the baton of their wealth, their knowledge, spiritual insight, stewardship skills, so that every succeeding generation is starting off at the success levels of their predecessors. This is how the great dynasties of history, good or ill, have managed and affected history. God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This concept of three generational lines, the spiritual reality and legacy of affecting multiple generations in their lifetimes, becomes the goal of spiritual people, the ones who understand the pattern. The single generational lifestyle so prevalent today, coupled with economic practices that fit in perfectly, is the underlying cause of much of this current economic crisis. Instead of laying up resources for the next generation, we've stolen theirs by leaving them the debt created to support our lifestyles. Nations like people seemingly have lifespans. They're birthed by the necessity for survival and grow in strength and power by the accumulation of wealth and the wisdom of leaders and the people. Gradually, they lose their vitality as the willingness for sacrifice overcomes them, and their vision for their nation's ultimate values soften into complacency. In a sense, they consume their future by living off the heritage and diminishing it from future generations. It's fair to say that we are currently at the doorstep of this conditions, waiting to see if our desire for the next generation's welfare and for the vitality of their nation is strong enough to give us the will and the courage to pay the price to reverse this process. The great cathedrals of Europe stand as magnificent monuments to those who thought and built generationally. One generation would begin the great task of laying the huge stone foundations, and before dying, literally plant the great oak trees that their great-grandchildren would need many years later to build the support beams of the cathedral. This is the thinking that built many of those towering edifices. It is scarcely imaginable today. To the single generational thinkers and time builders, time is a bit of an enemy. Indeed, no project can or should necessarily be passed across one generation and imposed on another. This existential view of creating value for the right now has made history virtually irrelevant, and the future of the values only to those who will be there. But to the biblical followers of Christ, any vision which can be fully achieved within one's own lifetime is most likely way too small. For us, time is on our side. The great drama of God's unrolling of time as the wave carrying his purposes is a song built by every generation as it carries the theme of God's triumphant kingdom. It energizes his people, gaining momentum with every generation as it builds upon the revelation of God's triumphant kingdom. For us, a generation that lives for itself interrupts the momentum of the wave, and it makes its recovery very difficult. This is where we stand today. We need multiple thousands of pulpits around the world challenging the parents and the children to join their lives and their purposes together, not doing the exact same things, but committed to the same heart for God's kingdom purposes, as they keep the relay race going and the passing on of that same baton from each generation to the next.